Oh, so this is the first base of bans. Talk to me with that Castro pickup.
Well, clearly, Impunity think that Vox is the best hero of this patch, and so Black Feather's ban. Black Feather does really well against Vox, and so that means Black Feather's ban, they're going to ban away Vox themselves because they don't want J3X to first pick it. Now, Kestrel, again, we see it so much in Southeast Asia at the moment. Kestrel is a first pick. Despite what I think about Assassins, Kestrel's I think an Alpha is the return pick with obviously the Rhyme ban. If you pick Alpha, you cannot let them get Rhyme. That's really hard. You're putting yourself at just such a disadvantage. I wasn't expecting the first pick Alpha. I was expecting that maybe a last pick, maybe after the phase of bans, see what's coming up. And that's really not confusing, but extremely surprising. But it works. Alpha is fantastic against Kestrel.
I mean, Alpha is very, very good, and we've seen some insane Alpha players coming through from challenges as well, Minimizer. And I'm not surprised. I'm quite surprised actually. I'll be completely honest. If I say if I'm surprised, then I'll be lying in the viewers' faces. But we do see a Lyra picked up by Impunity, aided with this Alpha, and we've talked about Alpha, right? So you go Aftershock into Clockwork, your reboot, it's 2 seconds. And now the change is made to Clockwork, you get extra CP on top of that, and afterwards you can go into a Dragon's Eye with C-Feed, and you can just stay in a team fight forever. And that is why Alpha is just so good in this current patch. But for the side of J3X Inferno, we will be seeing Arden to accompany a Scarf.
Yeah, that is not what I was expecting. I was expecting maybe a Crew to try and counter Alpha, because Crew does really well against Alpha in the jungle. But they've gone for the poke comp, so a really good pick here would be Jewel from Impunity. It's a double dive comp. They just portal in onto the back line, or portal out of a gauntlet, though it does really well against Arden. So you just portal in with your two assassins, dive in onto anyone, Kestrel, Scarf, doesn't matter, execute them, and then work on to the next target. One thing to talk about with Alpha and Dragon's Eye is if you go the Aftershock Clockwork build, as you said, it's a 2-second reboot time. So if you land your ultimate, it does damage, then your Dragon's Eye will have stacked probably up to about 7-8 stacks. Then 2 seconds to reboot. If you immediately attack someone within half a second of respawning, you will not lose any Dragon's Eye stacks, despite the fact that you've gone into reboot. So that's a tough thing to do. Maybe you'll lose 3 stacks if you don't attack quick enough, but that's still really good for Alpha with Dragon's Eye. I don't like the Gwen pick. I think you're trying to beat J3X at their own game by going poke with weapon power Gwen, but it definitely can work. I think the Alpha is a really smart pick against Kestrel. As long as Alpha doesn't get stuck on the goop, then obviously if Alpha gets stuck in the goop, she's not in a good position. But until Alpha goes into reboot, she's really mobile with a gap closer on her B and her A. B is almost constantly up. So I think it's a really good draft from Impunity. I like what they've gone for, and whether they can pull it off is a different story. It's going to be tough with the Gwen.
Yeah, I personally don't see how Gwen is currently sitting well in the meta. I personally think Jewel is just so much stronger. Rona is open as well. You can dive in with a Rona. And we've seen quite an emergence of Rona as well. Let's all be honest. Rona quite a strong hero currently, and we are seeing a lot of bans prioritize in that first game between Infamous and Renegades and Divine Aurora. So I'm quite lost. I mean, if you are going to poke with your Gwen, then the Kestrel and that Scarf can outpoke you eventually. Granted, you have got an Alpha that can prime directive into the backlines, try to remove Kestrel, try to take down Scarf almost immediately, but we do see a change in Scarf as well in 2.9.1. There's a 40% shield pairs for Scarf. And I think with a Broken Myth equipped on Scarf, you get up to a 90% shield pairs.
Yeah, if you overdrive your ultimate, you put your ultimate's level, it goes 40 to 50 to 60% shield pierce. Broken Myth with 30 brings it up to 90%. So if someone builds an Aegis, then that Aegis then has 90% less shield than it normally would when Scarf uses her Dragon's Breath. So it's very similar to how Ringo's Hellfire Brew works. Ringo's ultimate has 100% shield pierce. Scarf's, if you overdrive and get a Broken Myth, has 90%. So it's very similar. And that definitely is an improvement to Scarf. She got a pretty reasonable buff. And the reason why Scarf got buffed and Celeste didn't, despite being very similar mages in quite weak positions is that Scarf's abilities can be body blocked. If you body block the Spitfire as the captain, Scarf does like no damage, whereas Celeste can't be body blocked. You just have to dive her. You have to dodge and then dive in. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this Scarf is going to work, whether we're going to see that level 3 ultimate with the Dragon's Breath get as much pierce as possible, or if there's going to be more damage on the Goop, because if you Alpha's stuck in Goop, there is even a chance you can kill her in Reboot despite the tanky Alpha build, the tanky in Reboot Alpha build that we see a lot of. We are now loading into the Halcyon Fold for the second game between Impunity and J3X Inferno, and so casting this game will be Luxuria and I Request a Duel.
Hello once again. So we are here into the second match, and thank you as always, Minimiter, for the draft. And so going into this, I was looking at the draft as well, thinking that I saw the Kestrel, and then I thought it was a good pick for the side of Impunity to go for Alpha and then ban out the Rhyme. But I do worry for if they're going to be able to make full effectiveness of that, if they're going to really be able to get onto the targets they want to. Because if they're trying to get onto Kestrel, well, a lot of the time, Scarf, if they're nearby during the team fight stages at least, will be able to put the Goop down under Kestrel and then ignite them. Otherwise, there's also the fact of we're going to have a weapon power Kestrel into the late game, so it's kind of dangerous at times if you accidentally go into a trap as well and get caught out there. And then you've got the Arden. So I think all in all, as Luxuria says, we have the side of J3X Inferno, who have a fairly decent comp to actually get out of trouble with this one, because they've got the Arden there, they have the Goop as well, and the active camo. However, it's just how much Impunity are going to be in control of this game like they were before, and whether they'll push their aggression as much as they did. Because I think if they really all single target down someone, they should be able to have the damage to burst them, and we might see that here even in the early game. But DefQ needs to be careful taking a few of those hits from the Glimmer shots, and Blue City already fairly low in that front line. We can see DefQ already popping that potion.
Yeah, and in the early game, I wanted to say that Gwen just lose out in terms of poke as compared to when 1v1 with Nibim on that weapon Kestrel, but we just see Kahlua just taking so much damage. And another thing I want to point out is actually Blue City's initial build. He bought a light shield and light armor going into the game itself, and then now just starting to pick up the boots and that of a light crystal? No, it's not a light crystal, it's a crystal bit, right? And it's quite an interesting way, for
Queasy might be the first blood, but Baby might get the other one in case. Oh, there's a lot of pressure going down from the side of J3X Inferno there. Kahlua jumping on Queasy before, and as an Arden early game, you can still deal out a fair bit of damage with the blood for blood, and then you could see Queasy just barely staying alive thanks to that Imperial Sigil. And then meanwhile, Baby took the opportunity to sneak in there, landed a Goop down with Spitfire, and did a fair amount of damage for early on. Has gone for the Heavy Prism and double Crystal Bit to start with, rarely focusing on damage. You don't see a single energy barrier there, not too concerned about that. Although it might be an expected item to go for Eve of Harvest fairly early on, but whether it will be that first item pickup is the question.
Eve of Harvest generally isn't an item, that people do recommend, but Nibim now.
Oh, yeah, we do see a bit of pressure up in the lane. Nibim getting caught out by that buckshot, and then Blue City able to sneak around and get the kill with the core charge. Now Kahlua left alone defending this turret, but iBaby on that Scarf going to be rotating up to help defend. Kahlua going low now, and there's going to be the Vanguard on himself. Blue City diving under turret, doesn't fall, however, is going to be able to hold on to that Infinite Reboot perk. And we see Baby chasing them down through the lane, is able to land the Goop, but not the damage. Follow up with DefQ getting kind of greedy here, looking for Kahlua, but needs to be careful. You're walking into a 2v3 situation with a lot of potential damage going towards your face with those Spitfires and those Glimmer shots. But now we see the lane has pushed up in against Impunity's first turret here, and they're just going to all regroup together. I don't think we'll see any more fighting. We do see Baby has gone down to the jungle and might just back off for now as they need to clear their farm.
Yep, Baby on this Scarf definitely have got a very good early game, and thus we are seeing a lot of aggression from this jungle dragon over here. You know, the ability to push towers as Scarf, that ability do wear off into the mid game, because when it comes in the mid game, when QC, or rather when DevQ, Blue City gets their items, then you're pushing, you cannot quite just stay in lane and consistently and just push reliably anymore, because they can't just jump on you, they can't just remove you from the team fight. Whereas in the early game, when everyone do not have the item, you have the most damage over time. And very nicely done by Baby to just use this advantage, and we saw the amount of damage coming out onto Bim on that Castrol by DevQ on that Gwen.
Yep, and DevQ trying to push up once again, just working on clearing farm as well at the same time. Actually having a few CS just ahead of Bim, sitting at 51. Bim actually catching up just then. So both laners doing a good job respectively, and we can see the junglers as well being fairly even going through their own farm. So we look at the board and there's only a 500 gold difference in favor of that of Impunity, as they were able to get the first blood, and now they are going to take Bim to the backs with them to try help them farm up with the ambient gold. But Bim soon realizing they have to return to this turret as DevQ starting to put the pressure down. There's the rotation coming up from Blue City. Both teams playing fairly evenly and fairly similarly. We can always see that all three members up in the lane at the same time, but it looks like Baby might get caught out alone. They do have the help of the Crystal Sentry, and there's going to be the aces high onto Baby, and the follow-through. Blue City trying to find the core charge, manages to land one, but is going to go in deep for it. Gets shut down into the reboot stage and is going to get taken down as they are stuck in the goop. Now Dragon's Breath pushing away the rest of Impunity, and they have to run out there. There's going to be the Imperial Sigil to keep them alive a bit longer, but DevQ needing to be careful as Bim coming up from the top side, going to pincer them in, and they are able to escape from that one. But you can see DevQ always looking for early kills on this Gwen, but actually realizing they're not able to find them, because J3X Inferno have done a pretty good job for the most part with their rotations, and if not their positioning, to always stick around and be there for their teammates when they need it.
Yep, and Gwen's power spike is just so weird. He just does so well into the early game, into late game, and the only reason being it's because of the tension bow. And with the changes made to people's health, or players or heroes' health, it just works in such a bad way. I mean, we see a lot of damage coming through from DevQ, but yet again, Baby could just survive through all of the damage, you know. Granted, there was protection coming out from Kahlua, but, you know, Baby just could survive through all of it and just pick up for themselves Blue City in the end in that particular team fight, because Blue City has to dive in really, really deep with those prime directive into those core charges.
Was in that reboot, it's such an easy opportunity for Scarf to have that goop down underneath them and just start burning them alive. As we see now, Blue City once again diving in deep and gets caught out the gauntlet for good measure, and it does catch out Queasy on the edge of it, but I don't think they'll be able to pick up the kill here. They might prove me wrong as they push him very deep, but that glimmer shot will miss, and now DevQ rotating back up to the lane, actually bought a weapon power infusion 8 minutes 55 in, thinking they need that bit more damage to really start pushing back against the side of J3X Inferno, who have actually been playing quite well for this game. I mean, we saw the previous match, they had a good early game, and now they might suffer from it just because they're not at the turret while DevQ's pushing down on it, and that weapon power infusion going to pay off. Rather than being in a fight, they're able to use it to really quickly clear that turret out, and now they have the advantage. This is what they were looking for. I'm wrong when I say that Impunity were the ones to take the first turret this match. So it is the same as last match, and it's just that it could be the similar mistake where, you know, J3X Inferno weren't able to take that first turret last match when they were so close to being able to do so, and then it led to Impunity being in control of the rest of the match. Do you think that's what we'll see here?
Well, it really, really depends, because like I mentioned before, Gwen's power spike is just so weird. It moves on a little bell curve, if you were to put it, right? She gets really strong, and then she starts to stagnate, and she drops, right? In terms of efficacy and the damage output overall. So what Impunity I see them trying to do is try to put as much early game pressure and try their best to just snowball into the late game. So Gwen's power spike, that linger period is just so much longer as compared to if you are going to play passive. So I do understand where Impunity is coming from. Look at the amount of damage on that Nibim Bim.
When they are going to be able to catch them out, Nibim having to stand still while launching those glimmer shots, and Gwen just with the massive amounts of damage with that Tension Bone Sorrow Blade, of course the Lucky Strike, and the Blazing Salvo adding on to that. But really the main items there being that Tension Bone Sorrow Blade for the moment, just that instant burst damage they have. There's going to be the Aces High onto Kahlua, stunning him out, but it looks like they would have preferred to go for Baby. One shot, one kill going to land onto Blue City, but Impunity should be safe to back off from this fight. And as you mentioned before, that really Impunity need to make use of this momentum that they have and try push for more, because it's really still quite a close game, but only difference being that objective that was taken, the first turret so far. However, it does open up Impunity to being able to move around as a team more often, as the lane is more open and they can kind of rotate through the jungle more freely, I'd like to think. And now we do see that they're continuously pushing up this lane, and it's going to have to be up to J3X Inferno to try push back and maintain that, or try and win a team fight out like they did before, but take advantage of the fact and really go for objectives. You know, it's as we always say, the team that is able to get objectives after getting kills is the team that's going to win, rather than you could have 20 kills to 5 kills, but if you've got those 20 and the enemy has 5 but has already taken down 2 of your turrets, then there's still the team that's winning overall.
Yep, and we do see Impunity now really rocking Gwen's power spike at this point in time. Having got that Lucky Strike, I think Gwen would just settle for that Tornado, or rather not another Tornado trigger, but then the Tyrant's Monaco. It's a very good build on Gwen. Aids you up to the early, the mid-game, the mid-late game. And a lot of times now,
there's going to be the Imperial Sigil to go in, but they need to be careful. They are caught out on the active camo, but it isn't going to be enough. However, the goop over the wall into the Spitfire, the Dragon's Breath as well, having been used, will be enough as Baby able to pick up the kill, chasing down Quisi, but needs to be careful of Blue City, who's right around the corner. Blue City having to jump in towards Baby is in a bit of trouble going in that 1v1 against the Scarf, or I should say the 2v2, as the Romans are still up, and Blue City just trying to get something for it is once again going to get caught in that goop. Will get the reboot, it is enough to take down Kahlua, but no, that Trian is not up at the moment. Blue City not able to use the Prime Directive over the wall, but will use it onto the Gold Miner to get out there. So in the end, you know, with the determination able to pick up at least a kill, and I'm surprised Baby not able to finish Blue City off.
And it is quite, I'm not sure to the viewers whether or not it is obvious, or it's either that or Blue City is just not very comfortable on this alpha. A lot of times she just got very, very low and did not use the Infinite Reboot at all, or rather the Termination Protocol at all, right? All she just did for herself was just to boom, right? She just dies. Like, I'm not sure. I personally, I'm not sure myself, but Blue City, Termination Protocol is part of your kit. You have to use it to put out damage. Do not look down on the damage coming out from the Termination Protocol at all.
Yes, especially now with the Dragon's Eye picked up, you can really, if you're able to stay in the fight long enough and you're not just popping it straight away, which you shouldn't be as a good alpha player, you know, you get to build up what used to be your Broken Myth stacks. This time will be the stacks onto your Dragon's Eye. If you're able to build those up, you're going to have just so much more crystal power damage on top of that. And I think you said it a few streams back, you were talking about how it's almost better than a Shatterglass pickup at times if you're able to fully utilize the stacks.
If you are able to, but you know, just now Blue City don't really have got, you know, those Dragon Eye item yet, and yet Blue City just allows herself to just enter that reboot without using the ultimate. I mean, it kind of boggles my mind overall. But Impunity are winning fights. But hey, so hey, what am I to say anything, right? I'm just but a caster, and now Impunity may be looking to take this crack, and now J3X Inferno may be looking still.
Yeah, we do see Impunity realizing that power spike. They have to really make use of this. If they're not going to go for a team fight, they have to go for objective. They don't want to hold this one out any longer, but DefQ going to land the aces high on him there. There's going to be the gauntlet trapping out Queasy and the likes of Blue City, but Blue City going to jump into the backline now using the Termination Protocol, looking for someone, but doesn't find anyone, just turns around. The Fountain was used, and Blue City will be back up again, but now does not have that infinite reboot perk, but will be able to jump onto the backline, find Kahlua, just needs the core charge, and it does look like Blue City suffering some lag, not able to find the prime directive. However, the rest of the team looking for something here. DefQ on the run, trying to find them, but doesn't have the opportunity as Bim and Scarf, Bim and I should say iBaby, able to get out of that fight. And now Impunity going to go for this Kraken once again. They have the man advantage, and the one-shot, one-kill is up, but they will be able to body block it more than likely. I can imagine Impunity not a team to let something like that slip them past.
Yep, and Castro wouldn't even try or attempt to steal that Kraken, and for good reasons, right? I mean, even if they do take the Kraken, Impunity would have just easily be able to take that Kraken down anyways. And the side of J3X Inferno, they have a very good push comp. I mean, we saw a similar team comp coming up from Renegades earlier today, but they had a Celeste and not a Scarf. But I personally think that Scarf is in a kind of iffy, right, position, or other mages in general, in this position in the meta where they are relevant but not so much. I mean, there are assassins just out there, Aftershock just so strong, so there is no reason to run a mage anymore. And the side of Impunity really just showing J3X Inferno why you shouldn't run a mage, you know, going up against them.
Yeah, and it's definitely hard to get to that late game stage when going up against a team of Impunity, but if J3X Inferno are able to hold this Kraken back, they might have a second chance at that. It's Baby using the Dragon's Breath just to scare them away. They might lose a turret. No, it looks like they'll be able to save the turret from this, so only losing the anchor turret out of that Kraken push, so fairly good for them, but that second turret protecting their Vein Crystal is already fairly low. A single minion wave pushing into that will be able to take it, and we do see Impunity taking the chance to go through the enemy jungle as they make their way out, and it just gives us a good chance to look over at the gold at the moment. Although this has been a fairly low kill game with only 8 kills on the board over 18 minutes, 5 on the side of Impunity and 3 over to J3X Inferno. They have 38k gold over to the 36k, so only a 2k gold lead there. Still very minimal, and you can see why Impunity really trying to finish out. You're right, you said that mages aren't so good in the current meta, but they might be able to pull through here with the Scarf if they really can get to the late game if this goes on any longer. Scarf already with the Frostburn, Broken Myth, and Eve. Now just looking for some more defense would be helpful rather than staying on that reflex block, because I think that's where you can't continue to rely on Arden into the late game, where you really have to get your own defense a bit more. Of course, Arden will always be there for you, but it's not something where you can just be like, okay, I'm going to go for only a reflex block, especially if you're not on the side that's playing the aggressors. And we now see Impunity eliminating that sentry. They're in full control once again of this match, and they need to be careful for the side of J3X Inferno because it could be their last fight. Impunity, however, looking fairly confident, you know, just able to go through, continue to build up their gold lead as they clear the enemy's jungle for a second time over.
I'm not all too for Baby's build on the Scarf. It has its users, you know, but a Broken Myth no longer works in a manner where you can just build stacks out. So if you want your Frostband, you want your Eve of Harvest, that Broken Myth, you're just not dealing enough damage. And with the Scarf, you want that extra burst, you want that oomph in damage, if it makes sense, right? You want that Shatterglass, like we saw Celeste or Ching on the Celeste actually build. Shatterglass will just make so much sense for you. The initial burst of damage you receive is just insane.
Queasy body blocking that Spitfire, but here's the turnaround from the side of J3X Inferno as they land the Gauntlet, trapping out Blue City, and Queasy burning Blue City down instantly. Queasy now having to be on the run. DefQ did make it back to the base, and as long as they're able to catch up with the Kraken and push in, and especially Gwen, you know, with that speed, is going to be able to get there in time. And we do see J3X Inferno more than likely having to push down this Kraken before it reaches their base. They only have a turret, and I wouldn't even call it a turret and a half at this point. It's a turret and a smidge left for them. So they are doing their best to burn this down. Just try fight for one more opportunity as Impunity have rushed another Kraken, and good job from Baby landing those Spitfires in the choke point, able to hold them off for now, but DefQ trying to look for a bit of a cheeky push is going to turn around instead, realizing they don't want to go in there, give up this control they have. And it's what you said before into the previous match of how they were playing quite passively, you could almost put it, for the side of Impunity. Like, they really didn't push too far with their advantage, and it looks like they're doing something similar here, but I would almost say that it's really starting to slip in favor of J3X Inferno maybe being able to make a comeback. They still have yet to take a turret away from the side of Impunity, however, it's not impossible.
Yep, we do see Slumbering Hearts being built on DefQ. DefQ definitely wanting to go full glass cannon, but I personally think that maybe the tension bow isn't quite needed. DefQ could have just settled for a Tyrant's Monocle, a double Tyrant's Monocle, Sorrow Blade, Tornado Trigger, double Tyrant's Monocle. I think that would actually out damage tension bow. But I need calculations from Mini or any other analyst that's in chat right now and tell me if that would be more damage as compared to, say, one tension bow and one Tyrant's Monocle. Because if I remember correctly, I think always asking Mini. Yes, always asking Mini. Yeah, do my own math. Okay, this is me talking to myself because I'm just asking Mini right now, and Mini's just telling me to do my own math. But we do see maybe a fight will be breaking out. Blue City going in with those core charges and maybe looking for the Prime Directive.
Yes, a bit of poke there coming out from the side of Impunity, just pushing J3X Inferno back into their base once again. And surprisingly enough, even though Impunity continue to take away the farm from the side of J3X Inferno, it really hasn't pushed their gold lead that much further ahead than it was before. J3X Inferno doing a decent job to somehow keep up in this current situation for them. But Kraken will more than likely be up within the next few seconds, as we see it coming up. And now, you know, Impunity, they're going to pull the same strategy. They're going to take Kraken.
Nope.
No, they're not. They are not going to pull the same strategy. They're going to try go for the back door. They do have Lyra on their team, so the Arcane Passage is available, but they're going to get caught out by the rest of J3X Inferno here. There's going to be the Aces High, lands onto Arden, but Blue City already low. Baby following through with the Dragon's Breath. Blue City does get put into the Infinite Reboot stage, but the Gauntlet isn't going to stun them out, so they will be able to get up once again. They're going to jump back into the fight over the wall with the Prime Director. Meanwhile, Gwen picking up the double kill, looking for the triple. They won't get it as Kahlua able to find the safety of their base, but now Impunity with no more reason to hold this game out any longer, going to push onto the Crystal and finish it out with good measure. I thought surely Impunity, you know, going for the Kraken, but they went for the risky play. I mean, they had all the cards on the table for themselves. They still had all their turrets up. There wasn't too much to lose in that, and they went for the play. Good show from Impunity, as always, and finishing that game out, being able to win the second match as well. So 2-0 for the side of Impunity. And next up, we will have 501st Legion going up against Elite 8, but